All right, good afternoon and welcome to the Finance Team's Guide to Mastering Reporting, our latest addition to the ongoing Business Solution Partners webinar series. Today, we're examining one of the primary responsibilities of the finance team, reporting. Reporting is vital to business operations because it enables company leadership to make the best possible decisions. If reports contain inaccurate or misleading information, the consequences can be dire. And if reporting is a burdensome process, taking too long to generate and validate reports, it leaves little time for what is arguably the more important directive of the finance team, analysis. So whether you face challenges in your organization around a single source of financial truth, manual and labor-intensive reporting processes, a lack of confidence in your data validity, or are simply looking to improve your overall reporting processes, you're in the right place. Thanks for joining us. Before we dive in, I'm going to provide you with a brief introduction of Business Solution Partners, introduce today's webinar team, and review our agenda. This webinar is brought to you by Business Solution Partners. BSP has a 30-year history of providing high-level financial and operational consulting and technology-based solutions to mid-market and enterprise companies in all 50 states. We are a 5-star Oracle NetSuite solution provider partner, an Adaptive Insights Gold partner, a HubSpot Gold partner, and were recently named AvidXchange's 2019 Partner of the Year. In addition to these accolades, we hold certifications with many other SaaS solutions to help companies achieve process transformation in finance, sales, operations, marketing, and much more. We represent a wide variety of software and process solutions supported by training to ensure that your company succeeds in the modern business environment. Business Solution Partners is the CFO's trusted resource and a dedicated technology partner for an impressive client list. In addition to the 2019 awards mentioned on the last slide, we're proud members of the Inc. 5000 for 7 consecutive years and have been named a top 100 value-added reseller by Accounting Today magazine 6 years in a row. Our leadership and staff are actively involved with SaaS user groups for NetSuite, HubSpot, and Adaptive Insights across the country. Before we go any further, I'd like to highlight the fact that BSP is producing stellar written and video content on a regular basis, and we'd love to share these insights with you. If you enjoy our time together here, we highly encourage you to check out our YouTube channel. Be sure to like and subscribe to receive regular updates. You can also find Business Solution Partners on LinkedIn, and we encourage you to follow us so you can stay informed about our upcoming webinars, blog posts, white papers, and announcements. We've made it really easy by providing you with some custom domain redirects. Just type in www.bspny.com/YouTube or /LinkedIn to be taken directly to our social pages. My name is Craig Cook. I'm the Chief Marketing Officer for Business Solution Partners. Lined up for our call today is a fantastic panel of presenters, Chris Adamski, Wing Chan, and Cody Johnson. I'll also give a big shout out to our webinar coordinator, Michelle Cronley. On behalf of the entire team assembled here today, welcome to our educational webinar. All right, today's agenda. First, we're going to introduce Chris Adamski. He is going to go over the top 5 ways to achieve beyond better reporting. Then we're going to hand the baton over to Wing Chan, who's going to talk about better reporting through technology and introduce Adaptive. And then we're going to hand over to Cody Johnson from Adaptive, and he's going to talk to us about reporting in the cloud and give us a demo of Adaptive in process. All right, we're ready to get started. It's my pleasure to introduce your first speaker today, Business Solution Partners co-practice manager for the Adaptive Insights platform and a consultant with over 25 years experience deploying financial solutions on NetSuite, Adaptive, and Microsoft Dynamics platforms. Chris Adamski joined BSP in 2019 and has already made a significant impact for our company and our clients. Chris, at this point, I'm sure our attendees are eager for you to start sharing your insights around reporting, and I'm going to hand the reins over to you.
Yeah, thanks, Craig. Hello, and welcome, everyone. I'm Chris Adamski, one of our Adaptive practice managers. Myself and Lynn Jenkins here at BSP lead our team of Adaptive Success Engineers. Our team is focused on successful Adaptive Insights implementations and ongoing support for our existing customers. When it comes to collaborative budgeting, forecasting, and reporting tools, Adaptive is no doubt the leader in the industry. But we know that not everyone uses Adaptive, at least not yet. And even if you do have Adaptive Insights, I'd like to at least leave you today with a few things you could ask yourselves and a few things you could start doing today to begin improving your own processes. Every month, quarter, fiscal year end, it just never stops. Never will, but we do it. We get it done. It's the reason why we wake up and show up to work each morning. But are we doing it in the best way we can? Is there something more we could be doing? Are we the cause of anyone's pain points? What did it take for us to get our reports to where they are? How long did it take to prepare? Where do we get the data from? Do we even trust the data? How do we share our creations to those that need it the most? Are we even telling the right story? These are the questions we should be asking ourselves. If we can enhance and optimize our process and reports, we can then set ourselves up to be able to provide the best answers to these questions. So in looking at this slide, do you see a developing theme here? It's time. Most finance pros, in fact, the vast majority, if asked, say they spend way too much time on reporting, and not on the good bits of reporting. We all want to focus on decision making, focusing on the key areas that generate the most value for our team. But we spend too much time preparing reports, copying and pasting and formatting data from multiple teams and systems. Then we have to make sure the data is accurate. Did our people pull the data at the right time after month-end close? Did the data get captured after that one change HR needed to make to a payroll system for headcount? How do you know for sure? We also tend to spend a lot of our time developing new reports and trying to find out if we even have the data readily available for those who are asking. One of the main questions we should be asking ourselves is, are we spending our time on the right stuff at the right time? I'll give you a little hint. The answer is usually no. So what does all this time take away from? It keeps people from being able to interpret the data in a meaningful way, and from being able to have those meaningful conversations around the data. All this put together inhibits our organization from making more well-informed decisions when they need to be made. So how do we get there? No one's perfect, neither am I, but here are a few things that my team and I have done in the past and what we teach to our customers. We start off with knowing our audience. One of the most interesting and valuable things I've done in the past was to reach out and have regular user group meetings with all those people I regularly work with across teams. This allows me to really get to know them. We could actually consider them our customers, but once we get to know them, we become more than that. We become their partners. By knowing for whom we are creating reports for and their needs, we could get to know their style, and get the report to tell their story the way they need it to. And by opening up these forums, we could also begin to see common trends in reporting and data and identify common needs so we could build reusable reports and elements. For example, exposing common needs across your partner groups might enable you to create a set of mutually agreed upon KPIs and formatting to ensure the story is being told consistently over time to multiple groups. Think of the idea of one-to-many over one-to-one. So next up, telling the right story. Once you know your audience, it then becomes very easy to know what it is they are looking for, and you'll know the story they're trying to tell. But how do you tell the story in the form of a report that best provides not just the data, but the reasons for the data, the reasons why the data exists, and the reasons why we're all talking about the data? By using as many visual tools as you can, like line charts, waterfall charts, using multiple colors and comparisons, and being consistent with the presentation of data. All of this puts you in a better position of being a trusted partner that provides more relevant and accurate reports each and every time. You also need to make sure, or you also need to make your reports as flexible as they can. One best practice we always suggest is adding one or two, but never really more than 3 dimensions to your reports as options to slice and dice the data in many ways. It's always good practice to tell the story in simplest of ways, but adding more dimensional granularity as parameters or filters to your reports allows you to drill into data when or if it's required without the need for further development. By being able to tell the story consistently and in the right way, you'll find yourself being able to foster conversations and being able to reduce the risk of alternate interpretations over time. So once we've established our partners and know what story they're trying to tell, we could do a few things to help us get there. One of those ways is developing a single source of truth. HRIS, CRM, ERP, BWBI. Did I miss any acronyms there? There's quite a bit. And there's more that I didn't list. How many systems can we actually cram? How many systems data can we actually cram into a report? It seems like our lives are measured on how many sources we can consolidate in each reporting period, right? I know this pain, you know this pain, I think we all do here. I mentioned it earlier, but the biggest complaint heard from CFOs and other FP&A pros is that most time is spent consolidating and checking the accuracy of reports, but it's a must-have. If your teams are in a position to do so, engage your IT teams. Have them build you a data warehouse, which in simple terms is just a singular database that houses data for multiple sources and systems. Or better yet, find an online solution that can integrate across systems and consolidate the data for you. In either case, imagine a system that can draw in disparate data automatically into a single database, where for each reporting period, you'd end up with a single source of truth, where you have financial and non-financial data in one place. The system is proven and it keeps us honest and it keeps us out of the business of checking and rechecking our data and questioning ourselves over and over. Next up, data dictionaries. What are they? So now that we have a single source of truth and all of our data is accessible and everything is happy in our world, or even if you don't quite have that yet, how do we know what's there and what data is available to us and our partners? You can start by listing out all of your reports that you have and others have created, all the data points contained in those reports, what they mean, and where they come from. I'd even go as far as making it relational so you can see how your current reports and data points are interconnected. Creating and maintaining a data dictionary will define and normalize your data. Supporting the idea of telling the right story each and every time. Getting all of your reports and elements documented also allows you to identify repeating requirements of new reports. This gives you the opportunity to reuse reports and data points. Data dictionaries are also a great tool to help you rationalize. That is, justify why you have so many reports and whether you should even keep any of them around. This exercise also ensures the continuity of your team and its knowledge by getting that information out of any one person's head and allows everyone to consume that information. This will allow your team to divide and conquer more easily if needed in the future. So we've gotten to know our partners and we're telling the right story because the data is coming from a single source and everyone knows what that data means. We can now go one step further and begin teaching people how to fish by developing a culture of self-service. So in a perfect world, we'd have a data dictionary that defines the data on some sort of menu of existing reports, right? Yeah, it's great, awesome. Now let's take it a step further. And as long as we know our audience and their data security requirements, we could allow our users to have access to that data in our one-stop automated consolidated system. We could then have a few working/training sessions to teach them how to create their own reports and how they can share them. If your toolset allows for it, open up your data by introducing a process to allow for users to create their own reports or to consume reports that others have created. So where does all this leave us? It leaves us with radical results. Doing all this admittedly requires a lot of commitment and investment in building the perfect solution. You don't have to do it all at once, but for those who do one or a few or all of these practices, you'll generally find reduced time to production for your reports, increased and consistent accuracy of those reports, and you'll see the benefit of having better conversations and allowing for better decision-making at the right time. Thank you for your time today. Back to you, Craig.
All right, Chris, thank you so much. That was a really great introduction to our topic today, and I think 5 great tips to achieve beyond better reporting. I'm excited for our audience to be able to leverage some of your hard-fought knowledge. It's time for us to shift over to Wing Chan. Wing is our account executive for the Adaptive Insights product. I'm going to introduce Wing, and he's going to give you an introduction to Adaptive Insights, and we'll dig down a little bit deeper into that. So Wing, why don't you take it away?
Thank you, Craig. A quick intro. I've been working with financial reporting tools and ERP solutions for over 15 years. If you have any questions after this webinar, feel free to reach out to our team. We'd love to assist you with understanding your needs, answering questions, and helping you compare viable solutions. Let me take 3 minutes to tell you about a cloud-based financial reporting solution for automating reporting processes. At this point, you may be wondering, why do I need another report writer if I already have one in my financial system? Clients have found that sometimes the built-in report writer is not flexible enough, or they may want to do analysis outside of their ERP system. Here are some common use cases that may apply to you. Perhaps you need multiple dimensions on your reporting columns and your current reporting tool only allows one. Or you may want to do allocations analysis outside of your ERP so that it doesn't impact your GL. Also, if you budget below your trial balance, such as for headcount or marketing expenses, that data is probably in an Excel file, and there's no place to put it in your ERP system. Wouldn't it be helpful to combine actuals and detailed budget data for variance reporting? Or you may have some non-financial data that you'd like to combine with your financial data in reports. And here's a biggie. Do you need to see multiple reporting views of your chart of accounts for GAAP and management reporting? If any of these situations apply to you, then you may benefit from the Adaptive Insights solution. Epicare is one organization that has mastered the art of dimensionalized reporting. They deliver high-quality, compassionate healthcare to those in need. Their organization has been built through opening new locations and acquisitions. Their prior challenges were they lacked the proper financial visibility to best understand how to optimize top-line revenues and profitability. After using Adaptive Insights, they're able to produce P&Ls by dimensions, for example, by location, by specialty, by department, by position, to analyze and optimize profitability by dimension. Also, non-financial managers can easily navigate Adaptive Insights and leverage the system for proactive decision-making. Finance employees can easily build acquisition models suited for the healthcare industry and quickly create financial statements. Also, they're able to pull in data from all their business systems for a consolidated view of their organization. As you can see, Adaptive Insights is a popular solution across many industries. In fact, over 4,000 clients benefit from it. Adaptive Insights is part of Workday, but can work with data from any system. It's consistently recognized as a leader by multiple analysts, and it's used by organizations in not only North America, but in over 50 countries. So that's a quick overview of Adaptive Insights. Let's take a look at the solution in action. To give us a tour of the platform, I'd like to introduce Cody Johnson, Senior Solution Consultant for Adaptive Insights. Cody has worked in finance and FP&A for over 14 years, and before joining Adaptive Insights, Cody was employed by NetSuite on the financial planning team. Cody, thanks for joining us. I'm going to hand over screen control to you so that you can give us a little tour.
Thanks, Wing. If you'll let me know when you can see my screen, we'll get started.
I can see it.
Perfect. Okay, so thanks everyone for their time. What I'm going to do is introduce you to Adaptive and how we solve some of those problems within a solution that Chris and Wing were both talking about. Within Adaptive, you actually have 3 different types of report functions. So I'm going to take you through each one of those. First one being dashboards, so how you can dashboard and get analytics out of your data. Second one being web reporting, how I can easily slice and dice my data. And then third is for the highly formatted outputs like board reports and investor packs. So that's what I'm going to take you through. At a high level, just to kind of start out though, Adaptive is a 100% cloud-based product. So the nice thing here is as long as you have internet access, anyone can log in from anywhere, any browser they like, and their security will actually dictate what information they can see within the system. So instead of these kind of reports being, random Excel files on different people's desks that you try to have to kind of consolidate and get access to, this becomes an online cloud solution that helps that process. Now, with that security, though, I do want to highlight you also have the ability to build customized views for those different users within your system. So whether it's something like a total company level summary view, or maybe I want to have kind of an executive view with all the KPIs and metrics they care about, or a marketing view. Again, you can segment the data as well as let their security drive it. Now, if I come into the summary level view, what you'll notice is I have a bunch of different KPIs and metrics that I care about kind of across the business. Through this dashboarding and analytics, I have the ability to create these charts through bar charts or pie charts or scorecards, you name it. Now, one of the nice things here is I can also segment this by the different parts of my organization. So I'll just highlight here, if I open my hierarchy, again, I've got things like my total company level, wholly owned, partially owned subsidiaries, down to different functional groups and operational groups in my organization. So again, as I pull this data, I can pivot it and see it at multiple different levels at any time, opposed to having to do kind of that manual aggregation of data within the system. Next thing to kind of highlight that I think is important is the ability to have as many different versions as you like. So again, when I compare from a reporting standpoint, I'll want to be able to look at, okay, what was my current version, my plan, maybe a what-if scenario or two, as well as my actuals. And I have the ability to have as many of these as I like, and then expose these through reporting at any time that I want to. We all know how hard it is to report and pull multiple versions of a report in an Excel type format. Okay, now what I'm looking at here is kind of an overall summary level view of my data. So net product revenue, things like EBITDA, gross margin, as well as things like net product revenue with multiple versions layered into one view. So not only can I have last year's actuals, this year's actuals layering in, as well as my original plan all in one view, which can be really helpful. All the way down to things like a scorecard for all those metrics I care about against my original budget or forecast, against the actuals with a variance year to date and for a particular period. So again, just being able to see this any way that I might want to. Now, what you may be asking is, how do we get the data from the systems? And so one of the benefits with Adaptive is we are source agnostic. So whether it's pulling data from a NetSuite or Great Plains or whatever ERP system you may use, we're typically actually pulling around 3 to 5 different source systems for organizations. Typically ERP, maybe your CRM data, depending on your kind of sales model, HRIS or payroll data, as well as any other operational systems you might want to pull in. And what that gives us the ability to do is view this data across those different types of data sources in one place. So now I don't have to go inside 4 different systems to get all the reports that I need and then try to put that all together in Excel. I can do that quickly within Adaptive. One of the other benefits too is being able to slice and dice any of this data at any time. So for instance, okay, I see my net product revenue was $5.3 million for this month, but maybe I want to see how many what customers make that up or what products make that up. I can quickly drill in and get more information around that data very quickly. So here, customer 5 was the highest. Let's see what products they bought. Again, being able to use those dimensions to slice and dice that data can be really helpful in that kind of analytics investigation that I may want to do. Second to that is not only typically are we pulling in your things like trial balance and information from those source systems, a lot of times we're pulling transaction level detail as well. So for instance, maybe I have a budget tab here where I'm looking at things like my revenue trends as well as my budget across travel and entertainment, right? I can very quickly see that I obviously had a big variance here. That's sticking out very far. I could start to drill down, by function or by group, but I also have the ability to leverage something called Cell Explorer, which is unique to Adaptive. And this gives us the ability to really drill in and get a bigger picture of the data any way that we may want to, right? Ultimately, I can see where the values are coming from. I might want to start to drill in a little bit further, see what makes that up for company A. I see it's coming from operations, or drill directly into that transaction level detail as well. So now we're pulling in not only that GL account, but also things like a voucher number and a description with as many of these columns and information as we want. Just helping kind of those people doing that kind of analysis to be able to drill in, not to have to go back to the source system, make sure they have security and all that sort of stuff within the source system. I can pull all that data in a very consumable way here in kind of one reporting output. So again, can just help those processes of getting people within a system with all the data they need and being able to do that very quickly. Now, just to highlight another source of data, I may want to report and use some KPIs on CRM data. So here, maybe we've pulled in our Salesforce data, and I could see things like pipeline analysis, average win size, sales history, and the key being here, it could be really any data, whether it's production data, operational data, however that may be. As well as being able to see data at different granularities. So far, I've shown you everything kind of at a monthly level, but maybe we care about order details on a daily level, right? I can start to see the breakdown there. Maybe I want to look at it at a weekly level for revenue. Again, it's completely flexible to pull in that data at the correct level, and then I can report against that at any time. Now, one key here too is I also have the ability to take a snapshot and email this to any of the users within the system that I may want to as well as pull a PDF and share with users outside the system. One best practice we've went to internally actually at Adaptive is we actually run our quarterly business reviews out of our dashboards. And the way that we actually facilitate that is each tab represents a different part of the organization. And then maybe when sales is ready to kind of talk about their metrics, you can actually flip this into presentation mode, walking through charts in a live system, right, instead of it being static, where I can still drill in and get some information. So just to highlight, there's a lot of different ways to kind of take advantage of this data. Okay, so that's kind of the dashboarding and analytics. The next place I'm going to take you is something that we call web reports, which is really good for being able to slice and dice data. And so one of the keys here is I can have as many of these different reports as I want. Again, whether I'm building reports that I want to share kind of across the organization, or I want to build my own personal reports that only I see. The nice thing, though, is this is all meant to be collaborative. So as I'm coming in and building these reports, I can do things like, this is kind of a common one that we see most organizations build, which is just an operating expense BVA, my actuals versus working budget. Here what we've done is highlighted using conditional formatting to call out those variances where we might want to have some of that collaboration happen, as well as some zoning. If it's between X and Y, give me a green check. If it's Z, give me a red flag and draw attention. Now, what you'll see here is as I kind of scroll through, I can also have things like notes and information from different users within the system. And so I can keep these as footnotes. I can throw them in column over to the right. I can have things like, in line within. But the point being here, now this becomes collaborative, right? Our director of marketing came in and put a note at their level. Maybe we have our controller put a note, sales put a note. So again, just being able to have that collaboration within one report can be really helpful, as well as being able to slice and dice this data. So for instance, as I look at some of this, I have some massive variances within a couple of areas. Maybe I want to drill into this. And I could pivot this across any part of the organization, whether it's my location or function or department. And then that'll automatically flip how the report is looked, pulling my different parts of my organization to the left and keeping all that formatting to the right. So again, being able to investigate that information down to being able to drill in using that cell explorer I showed earlier to be able to get to things like transactions. So again, giving people tools to be able to do all that analysis and self-serve analysis can be greatly helpful. Another thing that I think is important here is being able to do things like pull this out. So for instance, I can export this report to PDF or Excel, share with users outside the system, or what I think could be really helpful, I can actually email this report to users within the system as well. So just as an example here, once I've built this report, maybe I want to send it to our board members or maybe our particular users. This is really helpful kind of from my past. Prior to kind of coming into software, I used to have to build 9 different department P&L, a report for 9 different departments across P&L. And so the idea was with that is I would pull that data down from my source systems, throw it in a tab in Excel, do a bunch of manipulation, and then make sure I email it to the right person. Within this, all I would have to do is build that report once, select those departments, and then when I send this, it's going to send them an HTML link. And then once they click it, it'll be based on their security that they come into the system, and they'll only be able to see the information at their level. So again, just one of those huge advantages you get with being in a system opposed to manually having to do this over and over and over and hoping you don't make a mistake. Now, one thing that I think is an important point here is getting those end users to be able to build their own reports as well. And so you can see I've got kind of all the different reports I care about today, but maybe I just want to build a new report. Now, one of the things about Adaptive is everything is drag and drop. So there's no scripting or coding involved. Typically, it takes around 30 minutes to maybe an hour of end user training, and they're actually off building their own reports. What you'll see here is over to the right, this is kind of my reporting palette, and it's just a big, powerful kind of pivot table with all of the elements inside Adaptive over to the left. And the nice thing here is if I want to start to drag and drop, I could just build this report quickly. So for instance, maybe I want to pull in some revenue detail like product revenue. And then I could just decide what detail do I want, whether it's things like sales details, maybe some revenue, or maybe even some metrics as well, things like gross profit and margin. I can just drag and drop and pull those items. Now, I can either know where they are in the organizational structure, or I can just, search them as well. Maybe I want to search headcount or something like that. I can pull those out. I'll need a couple of elements for this. So the first thing I'll need is some time. And again, in this example, let's report on the first quarter by month. But if I wanted to report, by day or by year or by week, really whatever cadence makes sense for your organization. And then let's pull a couple of versions. So this is, again, key where I can have as many versions as I want. So in this example, I'll just build one using our working budget and our actuals to see how we're performing. But if I wanted to pull 4 more versions in here, I could at any time, which is unique to Adaptive, and there's no limit to how many versions I want to compare. And then I'll need a quick calculation, right? Subtotal difference, really straightforward. I can do any custom calculation, but I just want to take a difference between these two. This is a really long way, to say variance, so I'll change that. I could do any of that conditional formatting that I may want to do. One thing that's key within Adaptive is there's a ton of financial logic already embedded. So whether that's things like how asset and liability accounts act in a financial model, to things like allocations and currency that come out of the box, down to really small things like being able to do a checkbox for the difference between expenses and revenue, right? Too much revenue is a good thing, too much expenses is not. So again, there's a lot of tools that make this process really easy, and it comes from Adaptive being founded by a CFO that knew a lot of those elements and problems. One other key here, and I think Chris called it out and Wayne called it out as well, is the idea of dimensional reporting. So no matter what system you have, whether it's SAP or NetSuite or Great Plains, every kind of source system on that side typically does not do kind of the highly dimensionalized reporting well. So this is typically a function that we help with, taking that kind of from organizations, kind of from those source systems. So whether that's in this example, I want to report revenue, by customer, and I just want to make that a drop down that I can, or by product. Again, the point being here, I have the ability to use that data, and then I can slice and dice it quickly. So, what took me just a couple of minutes to report, build a report, now I can see details across all of these metrics, across my working budget and variance, and see how we're actually performing at any time. And then if I want to get some more information, like, let's see this for one product, for one customer or something like that, I can quickly pivot this data and see that information. So again, just making that entire process of being able to kind of highly customize that very quickly can be really helpful. Okay. So the last type of reporting that I wanted to hit on is kind of those highly formatted reporting that you might have in Excel, PowerPoint, and Word. And the idea behind that is whether it's a board pack or investor pack or whatever that may be, you have those kind of outputs today, across things like Excel and PowerPoint. But what the benefit of Adaptive is, I can take those existing reports and then connect it directly to Adaptive. So instead of it sitting in a, in a tab way over to the side and having to do a bunch of lookups and hope I do that correctly, I can actually tie that directly back to the system. In this example, my hierarchy, my time, and my accounts are tied directly back. And what you'll notice is all the elements over to the left, just like the last reporting I was at. So what we'll often do is once Adaptive set up, we'll then take those existing reports that you have and then hook them directly up. And just to show you a quick example of how that works, here we have some accounts that aren't hooked up. All I have to do is find where I want those linked. In this example, some operating expenses. And then all I have to do is drag and drop them over. Now, the real key where this becomes powerful is, okay, we're done reporting in this example for February. We know March is closed. Let's push our reporting pack to March. All I have to do is come in, change a date, and refresh. And in this example, it's not only going to pull in my accounts I just linked up, but also change my time and my 6 months trailing across the entire workbook. So everything gets refreshed. I don't have to do a bunch of work to make sure, I changed the date columns correctly and I pulled in the data and make sure everything comes across. It automatically happens. So again, that whole manual work that you have to do today and the validation of that goes away, leaving you time for things like analysis across. Now, I still have the ability to do things like use my Cell Explorer like I showed before, but just to highlight, I can have things like my product sales information, again, got pushed forward to March, maybe a balance sheet. And as I look at this, again, this is coming directly from the Adaptive, but then I have things like calculations and conditional formatting and the like within Excel, giving me kind of the best of both worlds when I put these things together. Down to things like maybe I have a PowerPoint or Word, that I have to put together. Let's see if I can spell correctly. And so the idea being, maybe I have kind of a deck that goes along with this or something like that. I also have the ability to automatically update that as well. So for instance, I'll pull one in here. Here we have kind of our refresh. In this example, it's kind of a software company deck, but again, this could be for any industry. But the point being that we then hook up all of our metrics that we're wanting to show, all our graphs and charts, and then these get automatically updated with a refresh, and then I'm just leaving myself room for commentary and telling the story, which is again the goal of finance, to get out of this kind of manual, all the manual work that it takes to build the Excel file report and then copying and pasting pictures into a deck like this and making sure everything's right. That manual work goes away and leaves us time for things like telling the story and doing the analysis, which is the value you can bring to the organization like Chris was talking about earlier. So to recap, those are the three different types of reporting tools that we have to kind of help with that entire process throughout. And then Craig, I'll turn it back over to you.
All right, Cody, thank you so much. I'm just going to get my screen back here. And with the end of Cody's presentation, that means we're on Q&A time. So the floor is now open to our attendees today. Please locate the Q&A function on your Zoom webinar interface and submit your questions about reporting to our panel of experts. At this time, I'm also going to launch our closing poll so I can get some feedback from our audience today. And it looks like we've got a question here. I think that, Cody, I'm going to throw this question out to you. We want to compare best, mid, worst case budget scenarios in one report. Is that possible in Adaptive?
Yeah, thanks, Craig, for relaying that question, and absolutely. So one of the benefits within Adaptive is being able to have as many different versions of the data as you would like. So for instance, to be able to do that kind of best worst case scenario, which most organizations do, I can have different versions for that very quickly, throwing that into a report and being able to see that. So absolutely.
Excellent. How about Chris? Would you like to field this question? We need to report our P&L with different groupings from our COA for our board. Can Adaptive do that?
Absolutely, yeah. There's a couple of mechanisms just built in natively to Adaptive. One of those is using attributes, and by using attributes, and tagging our chart of accounts or level structure, we could actually create an alternate hierarchy of those elements, either the chart of accounts or the levels. So and those attributes are definitely available in the HTML reports, Office Connect Discovery, to show and display that alternate hierarchy and grouping. Yes.
Excellent. I'd like to introduce Lynn. Chris, you mentioned Lynn before. She's also on the call with us today. Hey, Lynn, how's it going?
Hi everyone. Hope everyone's enjoying the webinar.
Yeah, I'm going to throw you a question, Lynn. Can we create a report with actual versus budget variances and highlight variance over under for a certain threshold?
Definitely. Actually, you all saw that in Cody's presentation when he showed you the HTML report that had the variances and had a column for the zone with different color-coded flags and check marks. So you can definitely highlight your different variances using check marks, flags, arrows, smiley faces, frowny faces. So anything to get people's attention so that as they're analyzing the data, they can make the necessary changes along the way.
Excellent, excellent. Questions are slowing down. Just want to remind our audience again, please use the Q&A panel if you want to ask us anything about the presentation today. I will report back from our poll that 100% of our respondees said they found value in today's presentation on reporting. So that's awesome. We also said 80% said they're going to implement some of the suggestions and best practices outlined today. So so great. We really want to try to provide value to you and to our community. These polls and entry polls and exit polls help us out. We really appreciate our audience being here. So it doesn't look like we're getting any more questions from the audience. I'm going to move on to the next slide unless we get anybody else interacting with us. I guess on behalf of myself and Chris and Wing and Cody and Michelle and Lynn and the whole team here at BSP, I'd like to extend my thank you for your participation today. That brings us to the end of today's insightful webinar, and we'd like to thank all of you who made it all the way here with us. Remember, should you or anyone at your company need assistance with reporting or any topic around financial transformation for successful scaling companies, please feel free to reach out to us here at Business Solution Partners. We'd be happy to engage with you and help you transform outdated manual processes into a streamlined and automated flow. We're going to leave this webinar live for a few minutes so that you have a chance to ask questions and we can answer them in feedback and answer the poll questions. And I want to say thank you again, and we look forward to seeing you next time at our upcoming webinar for the NetSuite product, where we're going to be looking at reporting in NetSuite specifically. So if you're a current NetSuite user and you're interested in reporting, join us in November. We're going to get the message out about that webinar really soon. All right, thanks for your attendance today, and we look forward to seeing you again in the near future. From everybody at BSP, have a wonderful rest of your week.